it seems that your influences are pretty varied.
Yeah.
From garage stuff to soul music.
Yeah, totally.
What when you were young, when you were a teenager, what music did you listen to?
When I was a teenager,
Or the first album or the band that really
but it's
blew your mind?
so random. Like there could be so many different kind of. My father was a big influence on me. He was obsessed with music and still is. So I kind of grew up with a lot of rock and roll and a lot of blues. Really, he was heavily into blues, and he was heavily into Neil Young, Van Morrison, those kind of the kind of classic artists. But it really kind of opened me up to pretty much anything. So, I look back and I always remember just loving. I loved a lot of pop music. I loved all sorts, all over the place. If there's a good tune and there's a wicked beat and a wicked melody and it was soulful, I was always kind of sold on it. I don't think there was ever one kind of particular. I think I always wanted to be Slash from Guns N' Roses, but I realised I could never play like that. But there was so many. I think there's been so many different kind of musicians and so many different influences that I don't think there was ever one point where it was like, that's what I'm going to do. It's just always been, that's what I'm going to do.
And how old were you when you first picked up a guitar?
I was about.
And what was the reason?
I was going through a heavy Elvis period. I was into Elvis Presley, and I was about 14. I don't know why. I did my hair like him. I liked the Smiths at the time. I was really into the Smiths and Morrissey, and kind of led me down a weird Elvis Presley fixation. And then, as a child, I always used to love the movies, all the Elvis films. And then I just decided to kind of pick up a guitar around I think I was about 13, 14. And it's always been, a passion of mine. But it was always difficult for me because I was left-handed, so it was always really hard for me to find instruments that I could play. And
I know, I have that same problem.
Are you left-handed? Well, it's so good to meet people that know the problem. It's like having a handicap, It's like.
And your guitars are twice as expensive.
It's just the most difficult thing for me, and you walk into a guitar shop and there's just guitars everywhere, not one of them's left-handed, and you're like, makes it hard.
But back to you and Kelvin. You met, you clicked, and then what was the first music you produced? What did it sound like?
The very first sort of stuff we did, we worked a lot with a little sampler called an SU-10, so we could make beats, basically. So we were just making little beats, and for me it was an introduction to sampling, and that whole side of things. I'd always been kind of from that guitar band sort of background, and I think we both kind of educated each other in the different ways of making music. So for me it was a revelation that you could get a really good drum beat immediately from a little sampler, and then just go away, and I'd write little chord progressions, little songs to the beats that we'd written. So the very first stuff was acoustic, simple beats and just little kind of ditties, little, not really songs. I don't think we realised, at the time, how far we could actually take it. So we just kept pushing it and kept kind of, just feeding it and writing more and more, and then, you take it out of the bedroom studio sort of setup, and then you meet more musicians, and it's hard where we live, where we're from. It's difficult to meet people that are into that kind of, that are going to get what you're doing, and drummers.
Yeah, you're from what was it, Bath?
Yeah, we're from a place just outside of Bath. So Bath's like the nearest kind of biggest sort of place. I mean, I'm not from there originally, but that's where we met, and that's where it kind of started, and that's where we base ourselves now. So there's not a lot going on there. There's not a big music scene. There's nothing, It's all purely kind of built towards tourism, and that's about it. It's a beautiful city. Have you ever been there? Or maybe one day if you're ever in England, you get on the train from London. It's like 2 hours. It's a beautiful place to visit, but that's about it.